he really felt called by the Holy Spirit to raise up a body of women who could pray and to fast for the end of abortion and to work, works for those who can help them choose life.
Reaching women one judgment-free phone call or meeting at a time, the Sisters of Life help families choose life, providing shelter, supplies, and counsel in 6 locations in the U.S. and 7 locations in the New York area alone. And for those that don't call or live in places where they don't yet have missions, they embrace them spiritually through prayer and fasting. When vocations around the world seem scarce, the call to become spiritual mothers is strong. The Sisters of Life boast a median age of 30 and new postulants each year. I spoke with the Sisters of Life at their crisis pregnancy mission located in St. Andrew's Center, a former church in the heart of Lower Manhattan. We talked about motherhood, sisterhood, and fostering life with Sister Magdalene Teresa. Thank you so much for hosting me in this beautiful house.
Oh, you're always welcome.
And so we're celebrating Mother's Day and thinking about what motherhood is. What is the definition of motherhood for you?
Wow, yeah, motherhood really is a foundational piece of our charism. Obviously our charism is to protect and enhance the sacredness of human life, but motherhood is kind of like, I guess, the floor or the ground that we walk on, and it's the foundation of a lot of what we do. And we think a lot about, in our formation, about spiritual maternity. So our work here, especially at the Visitation Mission here at St. Andrews, we are able to receive women who don't live with us, but are just really wondering what to do. And they're in the throes of the decision about abortion or choosing life. And for us, it's such a joy to just invite them to see everything a little different. Like, one of our questions at the end of piecing out all the details, but we'll say, if everything were different, if you had this dream and that dream and all the things that you hope for, if it were different, if it were this, what would you do? And they always say, of course I would give life to my child if I had all these resources, and so that's our biggest thing, is to make their dreams come true, because nothing should stand in the way of them achieving everything they want. Pregnancy is not a disease, and so we love to make, it's like really a joy to make that happen.
What do you think is the biggest obstacle right now for women to choose life? Is it material?
Obviously it plays a huge part, the material, but I would say the spiritual and the lack of hope, and the sense of basically not knowing, to be honest, motherhood. Today we're focusing a little bit on motherhood, and part of what I see in a spiritual sense is the way in which women have not known motherhood from their own mother. For me, that's a big desire, is to provide that gift of maternity in our mission. It takes little things, like we do have a little bit of a cooking class that we teach here. It's to make chicken and different things, like a chicken salad, chicken soup, just to give them like, oh, I'm actually a good mom, I can cook, yeah. Which is a huge piece, and just little things to get to a bigger place, which is I can rest in my maternity, which means I can rest in joy of being with my children.
And there are some women who do stay with you and live with you temporarily.
Exactly. So at this mission at St. Andrews, we do a lot of interviews and try to see if they might fit at our Sacred Heart Convent, which is in Midtown Manhattan on the Upper West Side. And so our sisters there receive pregnant women who live side by side with them, and it's a beautiful experience for the women to live there. They feel so upheld.
And so you're 30 years old, right, as an order. What makes your mission so important now, and how is it different from when you started?
I would think that the beauty of our charism, it does speak to the heart, and I've seen women and men, actually, you've probably seen some of the volunteers are men, and they are moved to tears, actually, by our charism. And I think that I guess it is actually the maternal, our spiritual maternity has basically unleashed something in the hearts of others, and the fact that, our maybe our basic message is that you are made in the image and likeness of God. You are unrepeatable and irreplaceable. And because you're unrepeatable and irreplaceable, the child in the womb is, you're so loved by God, you're loved into being. If you were somehow not loved, you would cease to exist, so just the huge truth of that, nobody hears that. And so I think, if that's all we did, if we just kind of stood outside on a soapbox and said that, it would make some sort of an impact. But because it's shown in our actions and our words and what we're up to, it does seem to make an impact. I just think probably it was cumulative over the years. In the beginning, we were just finding our way, but now we have an army. We have over 20,000 volunteers. We call them coworkers of life. And they are so dedicated, and every weekend we have enormous groups of coworkers who wish to be part of something. And then all throughout the country, they're serving women directly in their area, and it's incredible.
We've seen a lot of the medical community making these screenings available earlier and earlier where you can find out everything about your child. And you see sex-selective abortions. You see abortions that are recommended when you find out that your child has a certain ailment or what some would call a disability, which we know isn't necessarily that. Do you think there are pressures internationally and also here in the U.S. that push women toward abortion?
Yes, I pray about this every day, and if maybe anyone watching could pray about this, because it's a huge topic of concern that the medical community in general, because we're getting so much more facile at doing all the testing, and the testing is becoming more accurate, but sometimes, I don't know, God does something in the womb that is unbelievable, because I've had so many times where there's this amazing test that says the baby's going to have this really hard, very difficult anomaly. And then by the time it's born, we had everybody praying for this baby, and he became the king of the NICU because he had to go to the NICU because he was assigned there. But he was fine, and he was huge because all the other NICU babies are little. And so we were having so much fun in there with him. But I just think that the truth is, if we could pray for this topic, because the doctors having a sense that they are God or that they can make this decision between life and death, I just don't think that's the right mode to think in. That, if we reverence life, even in the medical world, it would lead to great gifts. What we have in New York is there's a special outreach called the Perinatal Hospice with Dr. Pervicini. She got it right, and she really has a great sense that if there is an anomaly, let the baby live for an hour, for 3 days, doesn't matter, but enjoy that life. And I think that that's been so beautiful. So at one point, no doctor had seen that, but she started inviting doctors in to see the half hour of a life or the hour of a life and the way the family responded. And so many doctors have had conversions on the spot. And so I think that there's a great need to share the joy of life, even if it's an hour long, and I think the fear fear drives people to abortion. So fear is what has kind of wrapped the medical community in saying...
Fear of the pain of loss.
Exactly. Fear of the pain of loss, fear of being sued, fear of medical issues. But it's important to respond to that fear really with love first, because perfect love casts out fear, but also some courage. It's very difficult. We walk with women. That's one of our big works, is to send coworkers or ourselves to the appointments with the women just to back them up. Because when a woman is told you have a 5% chance of having a Down syndrome baby, they hear 5% chance of having a Down syndrome baby. But what is being also said is that there's a 95% chance of a perfectly healthy baby. So to reinterpret, it's a huge work. And we really, I personally am on a rampage to ask for there to be a Catholic birthing center hospital in every diocese, but especially New York, because this is the capital of abortion here. So if there were, that could be a great mission for an order.
What is your message to women? What is the one thing you want them to take away?
Well, I think, basically, I guess bringing up trust, that, to lay our trust in the Lord and lay our trust in Our Lady. I think Our Lady, we were painting earlier today, Our Lady Star of the Sea, and she does want to be that anchor in a stormy sea that we're in at this time, and she does want to shine that light on where to go next. I also think she has her mantle around us, and we often just don't notice it, but we're wrapped in it. And I think she is a great model for maternity. She wants to teach us. I tell a lot of women who are open to hearing, she wants to teach us how to be moms, and she loves sharing all her secrets. So, yeah, I think
That's
that's
beautiful.
what-
Well, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.